Beyond the gates, spoilers tease that within the opulent, hush-hush corridors of Fairmont Crest, 6 of the city's most powerful men have gathered. Vernon Dupree, patriarch of a dynasty built on tradition. Elon Hawthorne, shrewd magnate of technological revolutions. Marcel Malone, whose criminal past now bankrolls the family's clandestine enterprises. Bill Hamilton, heir to an industrial empire. Joey Armstrong, charismatic disruptor of social media empires. And Ted Richardson, the steady hand, who has long balanced loyalty and ambition. They assemble in a private conference room hidden behind a sliding panel of bookcases, its walls adorned with portraits of ancestors whose stern gazes seem to judge each new generation's maneuvers. At the head of the gleaming mahogany table stands Martin Richardson, bearing the weight of a revelation too volatile for the drawing room. His own lineage might be a lie. Martin's polished shoes tap a nervous rhythm as he surveys the men seated before him. Vernon's eyes, normally calm as polished granite, flicker with a hint of regret. Elon leans back in his leather chair, arms folded, calculating the implications. Marcel's knuckles whiten around a crystal tumbler of scotch. Bill adjusts his cufflinks, betraying only the smallest tremor of unease. Joey scrolls through encrypted messages on his phone, the bluish glow reflecting off his sharp features. And Ted, the man Martin has trusted as a cousin, confidant, even brothers, it's motionless, his jaw clenched so tightly that Martin can almost hear the click of bone on bone. With a steadying breath, Martin breaks the silence. "Why did you pull my father into this?" His voice echoes off the paneled walls. He directs the question at Vernon, whose face tightens. Vernon's posture remains formal, but the sorrow in his eyes is unmistakable. He leans forward, cupping his hands on the table. "Ted has known from the beginning," he says quietly, as if the truth itself might shatter like glass. At the word beginning, Martin's heart lurches. Martin whirls toward Ted. "Tell me that isn't true." His voice cracks. "Say it isn't true that you've been hiding this from me." Ted's eyes flicker, and for a moment, Martin sees the full weight of betrayal flash across his cousin's face. Ted opens his mouth, then closes it. The hush returns so thickly that Martin can almost taste it. In that pregnant silence, Martin realizes the secret cannot be contained any longer. He, Martin Richardson, may not be the full-blood sibling of Kat Richardson or the long-lost Eva Thomas. The implication is devastating and simple. Nicole Richardson, his mother, must have had an affair, and Ted Richardson might not be his biological father. Everything Martin thought he knew about himself, his place in this family and in its sprawling empire, trembles on the verge of collapse. His voice drops to a harsh whisper. "You've known that I'm not Ted's son." He turns back to Vernon. Did you know?" Vernon closes his eyes, pain etching his brow. "I found out some months ago," Vernon admits, his voice raw. "Your mother's passed the paternity tests hidden in her medical records. I never wanted this for you, or for the liabilities it would create. But secrets have a way of surfacing." He leans back, fingertips pressed against each other. "That's why we're here." Martin's head swims. "Then why now? Why bring me here before my mother even knows you know?" Bill Hamilton, speaking for the first time since Martin's arrival, clears his throat. "Because every empire, no matter how grand, requires stability. If your true parentage remains unacknowledged, our rivals could weaponize it against our businesses, our public standing, our legacies." Elon Hawthorne's cold logic cuts through the tension. Imagine a scandal, the heir apparent revealed to be a fraud, not of blood but of identity. Shareholders would panic. Our political allies would abandon us. The press would feast on it. He shrugs. "We need a plan before someone else ghosts it all over every front page." Joey Armstrong taps a finger against the table's polished surface. "I've monitored the chatter online. Rumors are already coalescing. Someone, maybe a disgruntled insider, is seeding hints. If we don't control the narrative, we lose control entirely." Martin's chest tightens. "And what about me?" he demands. "What do you expect me to do?" Ted Richardson finally speaks, voice hushed but steady. "You have two choices. Deny it and risk perjury or public scandal when the truth comes out, or accept it, and we work with you to shape the story." He glances at Vernon. "Your mother, Nicole, must come and make her choice as well." Across the table, Marcel Malone leans forward, tone pragmatic. "The minute this goes public, everyone will start digging your financials, your personal life. We need a preemptive strike, a controlled statement, medical documentation, testimony from your mother. That way we can frame the revelation as a celebration of truth rather than a salacious exposé." Martin runs a hand through his hair, mind racing. "You want to force Nicole into a corner." He narrows his eyes at Ted. "You've known all this and kept me in the dark. How am I supposed to trust you?" Ted inclines his head, remorse in his gaze. "I was trying to protect you from the trauma, from the fallout. I believed I could manage it on my own. That was wrong." Silence falls, broken only by the low hum of the room's antique air conditioner. Martin's breath comes in ragged jerks. If nothing else, he has learned that blood ties, once thought unbreakable, are more fragile than anyone admits. Vernon pushes himself to standing, clearing his throat. "Nicole will be summoned," he announces. "She will make her choice. And so will you, Martin." Martin grips the edge of the table, knuckles whitening. "Summoned," he echoes. "You can't just drag my mother into this like a piece of evidence." Bill Hamilton rests a hand on Vernon's arm. "She signed her marriage contract under the assumption you and Kat were full siblings. Legally, she must consent to any revision of inheritance or fiduciary rights." He glances at Ted. "It's a legal necessity." Joey glances at his watch. "If we delay beyond tonight, the rumor mill will spin out of our control." He taps a few messages into his phone. The outlet that's been sniffing around already has an exclusive tip line. "We need to eclipse their story with ours before tomorrow's print deadline." Martin's heart pounds in his ears. "So this is the agenda. Out me, drag Nicole in, then script a press release to spin it as a brave revelation. And if Nicole refuses," he presses. Vernon's voice turns steel cold. "If she refuses, you face indefinite legal limbo. Your inheritance frozen, your reputation bankrupt. And she faces divorce proceedings potentially in the public eye. That, I'm afraid, is her choice to make." A knock at the hidden door interrupts them. The butler's voice strains through the wood. "Mr. Richardson, Mrs. Richardson is here to see Mr. Richardson." Martin turns, unease twisting in his gut. The concealed panel slides open, and Nicole steps into the room, her composed facade trembling only slightly. In her hand, she clutches a slim manila envelope. Martin recognizes it instantly as divorce papers. Nicole's calm tone belies the storm she carries. "I was told you needed me," she says, eyes flashing at Martin. "Ted, you summoned me to this meeting. I imagine it concerns our son, your cousin." She shifts the envelope into her other hand, the edge of the papers peeking out. "I brought what you asked. These are my petition for divorce." Martin feels as though someone has punched him in the chest. "Divorce? For what crime?" He glances at Ted, whose expression crumbles with guilt. Nicole turns to Ted, voice steady but cold. "I will divorce you rather than say aloud who Martin's father truly is." She lets the words hang. "Because if I tell you, if I name him, then he will be hunted. Vengeance in this family is nothing if not thorough. And I refuse to sacrifice Martin's paternal blood to a vendetta I do not condone." A collective hush falls. Vernon's eyes dart between Nicole and Martin. Elon's arms cross, expression unreadable. Marcel's fingers drum the table, as though pondering an alternative solution. Martin swallows, fighting the bile that rises in his throat. "Mother, you'd rather leave him fatherless again than protect him?" His voice cracks, a blend of accusation and imploring. "Is that fairness?" Nicole lifts her chin, resolve hardening her features. I will not subject Martin's father to a sign-on-the-dotted-line death sentence. If this secret emerges, if he has identified vengeance here is not symbolic. It is a blood feud. She glances at each man in turn. I will sign these papers now. I am prepared to forego my marriage and any claim to your empire if that spares an innocent man's life. Ted stands, surveying Nicole with profound sorrow. You are just, he admits. And we are ruthless. He looks at Martin. This is the choice, divorce and silence or truth and blood. Martin's world spins. The resolution he so desperately sought now demands an impossible choice: expose the truth and condemn a man he's never met to death, or consign himself to the hollow identity of a secret kept beyond any hope of redemption. As the men in the room watch, the tension coils tighter around Martin. He looks at Nicole, his mother, his confidant, his protector, and realizes that whatever his decision, the gates of his life have swung wide, and there can be no returning to the innocence he once knew. The candles on the table flicker, casting elongated shadows. In that charged silence, Martin Richardson grasps the first brushstrokes of a destiny rewritten by secrets, loyalty, and the unbreakable bonds of blood. The hush that followed Nicole's ultimatum seemed to stretch time itself. Ted Richardson exhaled slowly, the air trembling with his attempt to steady a heart battered by guilt. Martin watched his mother's rigid determination, the divorce papers clutched like a shield between her and the gathering storm. Outside the hidden chamber at Fairmont Crest, the city's pulse carried on unaware police sirens, late-night traffic, whispered gossip, but inside, every moment crackled with fate. Vernon Dupree rose first, smoothing his suit jacket as though to iron out the tension that knotted the room. He approached Nicole with measured steps, voice soft yet unwavering. Nicole, there is another path, one that spares your marriage, but requires our collective discretion. He gestured toward the table where Marcel Malone's phone lay open. Marcel has contacts who can help locate your husband's doppelganger, a man who resembles Ted well enough to stand in as public figurehead, while Ted lives quietly under witness protection. Your divorce need never become public, the family name remains intact, and Martin keeps both his father and his inheritance. Marcel stepped forward, confidence flickering in his eyes as he tapped a few keys. I can arrange it. A lookalike for Ted, someone with the right build, mannerisms, even voice coaching. We'd execute the switch within days, and the press would applaud your courage in amicable separation, never questioning further. Bill Hamilton cleared his throat. A Machiavellian solution, but feasible. The only concern, should anyone suspect foul play, they'll dig deeper. We must prepare for forensic scrutiny, voice prints, social media breadcrumbs. Every public record must align with the facade. Elon Hawthorne folded his arms, expression steely. We'll need to construct a digital identity for the stand-in, social profiles, email archives, a backstory for the last decade. I can deploy AI to backdate files, and Joey can seed the content on underground forums, create a plausible trail. Joey Armstrong's grin was unsettling in the dim light. Already in motion. I've encrypted dummy files across multiple servers. By the time anyone traces them, they'll hit dead ends or loop back to fabricated sources. It buys us weeks, maybe months. Ted looked from his fellow conspirators to his wife. His voice trembled. Nicole, I would give anything to spare you. To protect Martin. But the idea of another man pretending to be me, I cannot live behind that lie. Not for my children. Nicole's gaze softened as she regarded him, the woman who had once vowed to stand by him through every trial. She folded the divorce papers and laid them aside, unspoken forgiveness softening her stance. Then we collapse the marriage, she said firmly. I will sign. I will protect Martin at any cost, even if it means I stand alone. Martin, caught between relief and horror, stepped toward his mother. You don't have to sacrifice yourself, he whispered. I'll help you find the truth. We'll uncover my father's identity without tearing our family apart. He met Ted's eyes. I refuse to let anyone craft my story for me. For a heartbeat, the room fell silent once more until Vernon set his jaw and nodded. Then let us chart that course. We will seek the truth, find your father, and present the facts on our own terms. No charades, no proxies. Marcel exchanged a glance with Elon, whose lips twitched with reluctant approval. Joey's thumbs hovered over his phone but did not move. Bill placed a firm hand on Martin's shoulder. This path is fraught with risk, he said. Revealing a secret paternity can unravel trusts, alliances, even provoke threats from those who feel betrayed. But truth managed properly can also forge the strongest bonds. Nicole swallowed once, steeling herself. When do we begin? The search for Martin's father. By dawn, Martin had a dossier in hand, fragments of photographs, medical records, fragments of DNA reports, and a list of potential candidates gleaned from Anita's long-buried letters. Each name carried its own risk. Some were powerful families with vendettas of their own. Others were hushed whispers in the city's underworld. Martin pored over the files in Ted's study, the hush broken only by the scratch of pen on paper as he annotated possible leads. Ted entered with 2 steaming mugs of coffee, bittersweet Colombian roast, the only thing on the estate that drew them back to normalcy. He handed Martin a cup and sat across from him, his eyes pained but resolute. I have contacts at the hospital where Nicole gave birth, he said softly. I've arranged access to the sealed delivery logs and archived staff rosters from that period. You'll find the name of the attending physician and with it, perhaps a clue to the father's identity. Martin nodded, lifting his mug in a silent toast. To truth, he murmured. They clinked rims, and in that small gesture, Martin felt the first real surge of hope. Nicole's next move. Meanwhile, Nicole marched down the manicured hallway to Vernon's private office. She had drafted her divorce petition, but now she set it aside in favor of a new resolution, a confidential separation agreement that preserved her legal rights and Martin's future without publicly dissolving her marriage. She pored over legal statutes, typed and retyped clauses, custody provisions, inheritance guarantees, non-disclosure agreements until the draft glowed on her laptop screen like a fragile promise. When Vernon joined her, he studied the document and offered suggestions, a clause ensuring Martin's rights to the Richardson Trust, a provision requiring any future revelations to be disclosed to a vetted family counsel, a stipulation that Nicole's anonymity be protected should she choose to speak to the press. Each amendment layered complexity, but also fortified the shield she sought to raise around her loved ones. At last, Nicole leaned back and pressed save. She closed her eyes, gathering courage. She would present this to Ted as the basis for their parting, not a divorce, but a dignified separation that honored their years together and shielded Martin from the horrors of a public trial. The conclave at Fairmont Crest. That evening, Vernon convened the group again in Fairmont Crest's hidden chamber. This time, only Martin, Ted, Nicole, Vernon, and Bill attended. Elon, Marcel, and Joey recused themselves, their tasks already set in motion on the digital and underworld fronts. The air was thick with anticipation as Nicole read aloud the separation agreement, her voice steady with conviction. Each clause elicited murmurs of approval as the plan took shape. The house at Elmwood Lane would transfer to Martin's name alone. Nicole would retain her personal assets and serve as Martin's guardian. Ted would withdraw from public scrutiny but maintain private counsel for the family, and Vernon would oversee a confidential trust to fund Martin's education and future ventures. When she finished, Bill nodded. This framework will satisfy legal requirements and preserve our public image. There is no paper trail that points to Ted's divorce, only a separation for reasons of personal growth. Vernon closed his eyes briefly, relief and sorrow mingling on his weathered face. So be it, he said. We stand by these terms. A lead emerges. As the gathering dispersed, Martin lingered behind with Ted. He brandished a folded piece of paper, and index card from the hospital archives, scrawled with a single name, Dr. Adrian Moore. Ted's brow furrowed. A junior surgeon who transferred to the county clinic in 1997. He was present at Nicole's delivery, but then left town under a cloud rumors of an affair with a patient. Martin's pulse quickened. He's the prime candidate. Ted nodded slowly. I can reach out to my contact on the county board. If he's still alive, he'll be registered in the Medical Association's records. I'll arrange a meeting discreetly. Nicole's reunion with Martin. Back at the Richardson estate, Nicole found her son in the conservatory, bathed in moonlight through stained glass windows. Martin held the index card, his features alight with the prospect of answers at last. She placed a hand on his shoulder, the gesture both maternal and solemn. We will find him, she promised. And when we do, we will face whatever comes together. He looked at her, gratitude and apprehension warring in his eyes. Thank you for standing with me. She smiled softly. Always. Ted's own reckoning. That night, Ted Richardson retreated to his private study, the glow of a single desk lamp illuminating stacks of files. Though his public persona was one of steady calm, his private turmoil churned like a storm at sea. He pulled a family photograph from his pocket, Nicole on their wedding day, Martin a toddling boy at their side, and gazed at their smiles, the promise of a future he had kept through silence. Now, as he prepared to track down Dr. Moore, Ted realized that the greatest test of his loyalty was not to his family's power or reputation, but to the simple truth that every child deserves to know their father. He reached for his phone and dialed his contact at the state medical board, a former classmate of Moore's who still owed Ted a favor. As the call connected, Ted offered a straightforward request: locate Adrian Moore. I need to speak with him about a personal matter, urgent. Confidential. He hung up and exhaled, the weight of tomorrow's confrontation settling on his shoulders. Martin's preparation. Meanwhile, Martin retreated to his own quarters, determined to prepare for meeting the man who might be his true father. He spread out photographs of Dr. Moore, yearbook snapshots, clinic staff portraits, a news clipping of a medical conference where Moore had been a keynote speaker. He studied the lines of Moore's face, the set of his jaw, gauging how he might approach him. Should he demand answers or offer gratitude? Threats or forgiveness? The question haunted him. Would Moore welcome him or recoil from the scandal his existence would resurrect? Martin penned a letter carefully worded, respectful, yet insistent, requesting a private conversation. He sealed it, addressed it to Moore's last known residence, and dispatched it via overnight courier under a pseudonym. A fracture in the ranks. As dawn approached, tensions brewed beneath the glimmering surface of Fairmont Crest's elite circle. News had arrived by discreet channels. A rumor mill was already clattering with speculation about Nicole's separation, and social media whispers hinted at a paternity scandal. Elon Hawthorne's team failed to fully suppress the chatter. Marcel Malone reported that Kenneth the club server turned blackmailer had resurfaced with new evidence. Joey Armstrong's teaser clips now included shadowy footage of a man sitting at Ted's office desk, fueling conspiracy theories. Martin, Nicole, Ted, Vernon, and Bill realized that time was no longer a friend. They would have to accelerate their plan, secure Moore's cooperation, finalize the separation agreement, and craft a public statement that framed the emerging narrative as a story of reconciliation and acceptance, rather than betrayal and scandal. Toward an uncertain dawn. In the estate's grand hall, chairs circled beneath crystal chandeliers as the inner circle prepared for the next council. Nicole reviewed her separation document one final time. Martin rechecked his courier tracking. Ted composed a message to his medical board contact. Vernon polished the terms of the family trust, and Bill drafted bullet points for the press release. Each man and woman carried a piece of the unfolding drama, some born of love, others of ambition, but all bound by the unspoken oath to protect Martin's truth. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the stained glass windows, they gathered for what might be the most consequential meeting of their lives. Outside, the city stirred, unaware that within these walls, destinies hung in the balance. Alliances would be tested, loyalties reforged, and the gates between past mistakes and future hopes would open wide, ushering in a revelation powerful enough to reshape every branch of the Dupree-Richardson-Hawthorne-Hamilton legacy forever.